You're listening to Systemic Error Podcast. The failure was designed.
Trump pulling Blanche means he's expecting $100 million windfall. Expert, based on an article by Matthew Ross. Trump didn't lose the nominee fight. He exposed the scam. Power sits where the money does. The headline is that Todd Blanche's Attorney General nomination was withdrawn. The real story is that Donald Trump still tried to hold together a deal built around his own power over the IRS and the Justice Department he controls. That is the institutional fact underneath all the paperwork theater. Trump is not being blocked by the system. He is trying to use the system to insulate himself from it. A settlement written for one man, according to the reporting. The settlement involved a $1.776 billion fund negotiated by the Justice Department under Trump, based on Trump's lawsuit blaming the IRS for leaking his tax returns. Legal scholars had already treated the case as frivolous. The point was never just litigation. It was leverage, a process dressed up as grievance, with a payout structure that would send money to Trump supporters who claimed injury while also shielding Trump and his family from future audits. That is not public law functioning badly. That is patronage with a legal font. Immunity disguised as procedure. Barb McQuad's read cuts through the camouflage. The withdrawn nomination suggests Trump would rather yank Blanche than put in writing that the IRS deal is dead. That matters because Blanche admitted the settlement agreement remained an enforceable document. In other words, the thing is not some dead draft or sloppy misunderstanding. It is a live instrument until someone with authority kills it in writing. That is the kind of detailed political reporting often buries under the language of process. But process is the point when the process itself is being used to launder self-dealing. Future audit protection for Trump and his family is not a side issue. It is the core benefit. The loyalists were the recipient class. The supposed beneficiaries were not taxpayers, not victims of a real government abuse, and not the public. They were Trump supporters who said they had been wronged by the government, plus Trump himself, who stood to gain protection from scrutiny. Sam Nunberg's comments make the logic plain. Compensation is framed as payback for people dragged into Trump-adjacent investigations, while the actual structure of the deal turns loyalty into a claims category. That is how corruption protects itself now. It does not always bribe in envelopes. Sometimes it turns grievance into a reimbursement scheme and calls it fairness. Cornyn briefly touched the wire. Then, John Cornyn, a powerful Republican and a usual Trump ally, asked for the settlement agreement and pressed Blanche on whether it remained enforceable. That moment matters because it shows how rare it is for anyone inside Trump's party to put a hand on the machinery and ask whether the machine is legal or just obedient. Cornyn did not blow the thing up. He only exposed enough of it to show how flimsy the public explanation was. Blanche's answer did the usual dance. The fund is not going forward, therefore no need to modify it. But if the agreement remains enforceable, then the paper still exists. That is the kind of answer designed to lower temperature while preserving options. It is not clarity. It is damage control. Government as a personal asset. This story is bigger than one settlement or one withdrawn nomination. It shows a recurring pattern in Trumpist politics. Institutions are not treated as constraints, but as instruments of private advantage. The IRS becomes a target. The Justice Department becomes a vehicle. And Republican power becomes a shield for turning public authority into personal protection. That is the political meaning here. The issue is not confusion, overreach, or a few bad actors. The issue is that the people with power are trying to convert state machinery into a loyalty machine, with tax enforcement, legal settlements, and cabinet nominations all bent toward the same end. You've been listening to Systemic Error. Thanks to Alternet for today's article, with the automated voice of Joe. Thanks for listening.